Hi. I would like to comment on this game, Syberia, which really impressed me when I played it a while ago because of how weird and sort of rich, complex the story seemed to me. Mm, so, okay, I guess I should give a little bit of background on what the game's about. You are this lawyer from the United States called Kate Walker. Okay, and you have come to the French Alps to sort of to finish a deal uh, which your company wants you to solve. You work for this big toy company, a big sort of multinational toy company, and you've come to a small town to try and buy this old traditional family business which makes automatons, these sort of robots, and this is the tradition of the town. Uh, so it's, of course, it's interesting to note here that the game begins with a funeral. You're seeing all these robots enter into the church for a funeral. So that in itself is pretty interesting. Um, the person who's died, by the way, and I think this is why it's interesting that the game starts here. The person who's died is the owner of this small family business, Anna Vorarlberg. She used to own the automaton factory, and she has died. Now you, Kate Walker, come to Valladolid, this town, to try and buy this company, this small factory, to buy it into the big company. But you weren't expecting Anna Vorarlberg to be dead, so suddenly your quest gets sort of side lined because before buying it, you need to discover what's happened, who you can contact in order to get the documents signed if the person who was supposed to sign them has died, etc. So, okay, let's just as a sort of pure sort of analysis of how the game starts. A funeral, it's raining. You are directly here in Valladolid. You appear in Valladolid. And just this moment is the funeral. The second you appear in the town is the same second symbolically that Anna Vorarlberg has died. Your arrival is her departure. And the people who are attending this funeral march were robots, the creations of Anna Vorarlberg, so in a sense, her children, her sort of robotic children. So anyway, let's keep that in mind. The game then follows a series of strange paths by which Kate Walker has to travel an enormous distance, and the whole game becomes this sort of heroic journey. Now, it's hard to sort of give an appropriate context for what the symbolic context of the game is, but let's follow more or less what happens in the plot. Kate Walker discovers that the toy factory, the small toy factory, used to belong to Anna Vorarlberg's brother, Hans. And he was and still is this genius, who created these amazing automatons and just had this incredible talent. And one day, even though he was supposed to take over the family business, he ran away. So you, Kate Walker, go on a quest to search for Hans Vorarlberg. Now, the thing that's really strange about this game is that suddenly you become very personally involved in this story in a way that's very unnatural and that's very that clearly signals some sort of psychological projection that's going on from Kate Walker onto her situation, right? She's gone there to fulfill a job, but ends up going on this ridiculously long adventure to find Hans Vorarlberg because he's the only one that can sign the documents. But obviously, as she moves on through this quest, it becomes more and more obvious that that's not really the reason why she wants to find Hans Vorarlberg. She wants to find him for personal reasons, because she's become extremely personally involved with the story. And yet it's a story that just a few days ago had nothing to do with her. So, as the game goes on, she starts to lose contact with her American friends and family. They call her on the phone, but she starts to sort of lose interest and drifts sort of further and further away into her own personal heroic journey. And it's really interesting how the game handles this, because as it happens, you can tell that she is projecting more and more onto the events her own inner life. She has these problems with her fiancé and these problems with her own mother and with her boss. And slowly you start seeing that in the story of Anna Vorarlberg, there are a lot of parallels to her own situation, which she is sort of feeling identified with, and therefore is sort of fulfilling a personal quest by finding this other person. And that's why I think it's very interesting that the game starts with Anna Vorarlberg's death exactly as Kate Walker arrives, as if there's like a switch. They are the same person in a sense. Kate Walker is Anna Vorarlberg. She is identifying with Anna Vorarlberg very strongly. And of course, it's interesting that you never see her in the United States. She's directly here. Her contact with the United States is simply on the phone. So there's also this uncanny feeling that even though this world she's in now is like a fantasy world that she's never seen before, it's the only reality she's in at the moment. Her reality of the United States becomes more and more alienated as she continues.
So you're the American woman? Is it true what people say, that you've come to buy the factory?
Not factory. Anna's house. Hans' house.
Excuse me?
Would you quiet down, you mischievous little boy? I imagine our little town must disappoint you. You see, today is very sad for us. It's a day of mourning. Today is the funeral of Miss Anna.
Momo's sad, but Hans not dead. Hans long way away. Anna told Momo. Anna liked Momo very much.
That's enough, Momo. Stop pestering the lady. Now go on, scram. Get out of here, you hear?
So this little boy, Momo, Anna Vorarlberg liked him a lot. And it is sort of discovered later that since her brother Hans ran away, she probably likes taking care of Momo because he reminds her of her lost brother. So there begins a series of associations here.
Who is the boy who was drawing here earlier? Is he your son?
Heaven forbid. No, not at all. He's not a bad boy, no. Momo is just a little simple, that's all.
What is his connection with Anna Vorarlberg?
Momo is what you'd call the village idiot, and Anna took him under her wing. He must have reminded her of her younger brother, no doubt. And birds of a feather stick together, don't they?
You're implying that Anna Vorarlberg was a little bit slow as well?
Heaven forbid. No, not at all. She was a real loner. She kept to herself, that's all.
And he'd been working with these cogwheels, so he's clearly interested in automatons too, and is carrying these wheels with him. Now, the thing is, here there's all this theme of projection starts to enter, in that Anna Vorarlberg liked Momo because Momo reminded her of Hans. But suddenly, throughout the story, Kate will want to find Hans, as if Hans were, in some way, something personal to her, even though she doesn't know him. It's almost like she's looking for her own father or her own brother, also a sort of very personal relative, and there's this projection going on. And Hans is the creator of all these automatons, all these tin men. The most famous of which might be this one, Oscar, who you find here crucified in the factory, and with wounds in his hands and his legs. So again, the first impression you get of him is of sort of stigmata on his hands and legs and crucified like a Christ figure. And he is like the most special automaton in the game. He becomes your best friend and your guide in the journey, your guide in the heroic journey. And this is obviously where the game is more of a fantasy, because even though all the other automatons in the game are obviously automatons, Oscar is obviously a person. He obviously interacts with you exactly the same as a person, like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, like a real person. And yet, of course, he's not treated like a real person because he is different from the rest. So it introduces this classic theme of Pinocchio, or the golem, of a sort of life being infused into a physical object. And now Kate here is the substitute mother figure, because she will provide him with hands and legs. And then he will be complete, he will be sort of born and can start walking again, can start guiding her on the journey. Now here, this is where I think the symbolism starts to get a bit interesting, because he will need his legs in order to guide Anna, because he needs to walk. They need to go on a long journey. And Kate is called Kate Walker. So her name already implies that she is going to be traveling down a straight line towards a fixed objective. So the feet and walking start to acquire a strange importance. Now, at the same time, we have these relationships where Kate, by breathing life into the golem, becomes the golem's mother. But Anna Vorarlberg was also the mother of the golems. Hans and Momo, the little boy, are also sort of connected. And, of course, Momo was wearing the same kind of hat as Oscar was, as Oscar is, and also was carrying these cogwheels and mechanical parts with him. So suddenly, Momo, who is also the member of town that is sort of cast out because he's slightly different and behaves differently to the rest, is also a Pinocchio kind of figure. He's sort of considered to be strange and different from the rest of the boys. So in a sense, Momo is very similar to Oscar as well.
There you are, Momo. This is some walk you've taken me on. I've got to say, though, it sure is mighty pretty.
Momo, come here.
So, Momo asks Kate to draw him a mammoth. And as a reward, he shows her the secret place, which is the cave where Hans and Anna, when they were children, had their sort of traumatic accident, which has colored the rest of their lives. Hans discovered in this ancient cave a mammoth figurine dating from archaic times, a sort of mammoth figurine left there, from the archaic past. And in trying to reach and grab this figurine, he falls, hurts his head, and sort of becomes a different person. He becomes obsessed with mammoths, and that's why he goes on this long journey. So, Anna Vorarlberg is dead, but Hans is thought to be dead. He had a funeral and everything, but actually he's not dead. And so there's always this uncertainty that you never know if Hans is simply a legend, and Hans's life is just a legend, or if he actually is still alive. And again, here there is the Christ symbolism, that it seems like Hans died once, he was buried, he has his own tomb in the graveyard, which you can visit. But Anna always said that he will return from the dead. And to complete this Christ symbolism here, I think this is probably the only direct symbolism you find of the crucifixion. But I think it's an important one in this game, because you have here, first, the crucifixion, which is the position Oscar was in when you found him. Second, Oscar is a figurine. Oscar is made of wood and metal, just like this cross. So this cross, in a sense, is an automaton also, a golem that has life breathed into it. But most importantly at the moment is that suddenly a series of strange synchronicities start to happen with the concept of the feet. Oscar was missing his feet, and this statue has a key hidden underneath its feet. The key is in the foot, in the leg. And then, weirdly enough, this recurs again in the end, where you are in this industrial location in the game where you have this iron person, this man of iron, standing here with a hammer and a sickle. So, again, an icon in a sense, a symbol of communism in the same way that Christ is a symbol of Christianity. So, both are icons of ideologies. And here, once again, this big golem-like figure has the key to escape is in his legs. In fact, in order to access the control panel in these robots, you have to climb up the leg, and the leg is where you place the dynamite to destroy it. Now, this big statue, by the way, was built by Hans Vorarlberg, so it's another one of Hans's inventions, and therefore could be said to be a substitute of Oscar himself, another representation of the Oscar character. In fact, the other robot that's the most similar to Oscar is the robot, the automaton that guides and helps the opera singer. And his legs are a wheelchair in order to help her sit down. So, again, the legs are emphasized, and in this case, his legs are not there. They've been dynamited off in the symbol of the communist statue. He doesn't have legs. They are a wheelchair. And Oscar, when you find him, also is missing his legs, and you have to make new legs for him.